Hello and welcome back, G-Man here, coming to you from my studio lab. Today I'm giving a user review of the new Behringer RD-9, a complete recreation of the Roland TR-909 analog drum machine with some added features that I'll break down for you. Now available for a fraction of the cost of the original vintage 909. This is not a tutorial. I'm interested in how does it sound? What's the design, construction, quality, and workflow like? Do I like the features? How does it compare with other analog drum machines currently available? This video is not sponsored by Behringer. I purchased this item with my own money, so all you can expect are my honest reactions and thoughts. Let's jump in. Right out of the box, let's look at the construction. The case is made out of the rigid molded plastic. It's very lightweight. It's about the same size as a Lindrum, but half as heavy as one. About as long as a 19-inch rack unit. If you're tempted to rack it up, the RD-9 is a bit too wide to fit, so that's probably out. The molded plastic wraps around the back to the jacks area, but the jacks are mounted to the circuit board. The bottom plate is metal. I presume the circuit board is fastened to that to make it rigid. The controls and buttons feel nice. The step buttons aren't clunky like those old Commodores. The soft rubber buttons are like other similar gear. What's under the pot knobs? Oh shoot, metal D-shaft pots. Didn't see that coming. You get a metal shaft. You get a metal shaft. You get a metal shaft. Even the data encoder is metal shaft. It's shaft palooza. Around the back, the jack panel. 1/8 inch sink in and out. 3/4 inch trigger outs, which are assigned rim shot, clap, and bass drum, but the bass drum trigger is also assignable. 1/4 inch individual output jacks. 1/4 inch headphone jack. Dedicated DC input jack with punch-in power switch. The printer style USB is excellent in my experience. This is the most reliable USB port available. 1/4 inch return jack. This is for when you want to send an individual out to your effects processor. Then you can return that signal back into the mix output. You can also use the return to bring external sounds into the RD-9. It doesn't seem that the return jack can be assigned the wave designer or analog filter. There's no battery compartment, and yes, the DC power is required. You can't power it solely from USB. The RD-9 stores the patterns in non-volatile solid-state memory. You have 16 songs in memory, and within each song there are 16 pattern slots. Of the improvements over the 909, the RD-9 has DAW connectivity. MIDI, or optionally MIDI over USB, can trigger the sounds within the RD-9. Later on, I'll trigger some patterns from Cubase Element 7. Let's plug in and drill down into some sounds. The RD-9 has 11 sounds, some with editing capabilities and others not so much. They are among the most classic drum sounds. Snappy kick and snare. Low, mid, and high tom. Rim shot. And clap. Open and closed hi-hat. Crash and ride cymbals. There's no distortion circuit like in the RD6 and TD3. Instead we have a wave designer, which sounds to me like a compressor. It adds a bit more punch to an already punchy transient. An analog filter, which you've heard DJs quite often using during breakdowns and build-ups. Personally, I might use the low pass at times to mellow out the tone a bit. The original 909 had shuffle, which the RD-9 has called it its swing, and flam as well. Some other additions in the RD-9 use external sequencers to control the drum sounds. Here I use a DAW, Cubase 7, to sequence the RD-9. And Electron Digitact from the 8 MIDI channels. Note repeat. Step repeat. Probability. Probability is probably my favorite new feature. Every time the pattern comes around, it can sound a little bit different. Also, polymeter feature can take things off the grid very quickly. Hooking up the RD-9 to a computer using a USB cable, we can create the patterns using Synth Tool, back up patterns and songs to the computer, and perform operating system updates. At this price point, you're getting real analog circuitry and not one of the many emulations. The TR-09 with its controls, which are quite undersized for human interaction. The TR-8, on the other hand, has both the 909 and 808 sounds. It has reverb and delay built in, but the TR-8 is lacking all of the individual outputs. And many other 909 emulations are out there in a similar price range. Roland MC303, MC505, R8, Novation Drum Station. There's a few DIY kits on the market if you're willing to spend quite a bit more. Stita Electronics, Nava, and recently the DenSync RE-909. Other drum machines compared to the RD-9 price range would be the Arturia Drum Brute Impact, which sounds nothing like this one, the RD-8, that's for your 808 sounds, and then the Electron model samples, just to name a few. And now for some final thoughts. There is some sound editing capability, but not really a lot more outside of what the original 909 can do. And that's the point of the RD-9, an authentic TR-909 experience without need for an escrow finance option to purchase. The RD-9 doesn't have tons of onboard digital effects like reverbs, delay, loading your own samples, FM, or parameter locks seen on more expensive Electron and other brand gear. But to emphasize, the individual outs allow heavy processing from all of your outboard effects gear imaginable. Fun workflow. Ergonomics. The scale of the layout is very hands-friendly. It's a nice looking piece that does justice to the original. Integration and sync options for use with your other gear. The sounds are just so authentic, classic, and usable, and the addition of wave designer and filter sections definitely adds some fun without departing from the spirit of the original. For me, the RD-9 is a 909 dream come true. It's very easy to take things like this for granted, something this affordable and suddenly easy to come by. We will never fully comprehend the amount of work and dedication it takes to re-engineer a classic circuit design like this. Since I design Eurorack modules, I have kind of a vague idea, but rest assured, Behringer have done their homework, and everything about this design appears very well coordinated. Classic sounds. The hats are crispy, snares are snappy, and the bass definitely goes boom. The RD-9 will continue the cult following by DJs, pop, and house music producers who are into the 909 thing. Behringer is once again to be commended for delivering the goods way under budget for what you would expect. The RD-9 is durable and better constructed than expected at this price point. It should hold up very well over time, as long as it's not abused. And with that, I give the RD-9 a user rating of "It's dope." And there you have it. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.